Hi, today we're going over transport. Cellular transport. Cellular transport is in charge of maintaining homeostasis in cells and helps move liquids and molecules such as waste or nutrients in or out of the cell. Transport is also divided into two groups, passive transport and active transport. Let's start with passive transport. Passive transport includes simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and osmosis. All of these rely on the movement of solutes along their concentration gradient. This means that areas with high concentration will move towards areas with low concentration. They use no ATP. Simple diffusion is the passing of solutes across a semi-permeable membrane, i.e. the cellular membrane, such as small hydrophobic molecules or small uncharged polar molecules. This could include oxygen and carbon dioxide, and also water and urea. The phospholipid bilayer is what makes the membrane semi-permeable because of its structure. The hydrophilic tails make it so that ions and large molecules are unable to pass through the membrane. Next, facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion is similar to simple diffusion. Instead, it uses protein channels to help certain molecules move across the membrane. These are reserved for molecules that aren't permeable to the membrane, such as larger molecules or ions. Lastly, we have osmosis. Osmosis is slightly different as it's not solutes moving across the membrane, but water. Water moves through the semi-permeable membrane in order to balance out the concentration gradient. As you can see here, although the molecules aren't able to pass through the membrane, the water does and corrects each side to have the same concentration. Well, that's it for passive transport. Now onto active transport. Active transport includes ion pumps, carrier proteins, and endocytosis and exocytosis. All of these require ATP or at least some sort of cellular energy and can move substances against their concentration gradient. Ion pumps are protein channels that allow ions to cross the membrane to the other side of their electrochemical gradient by using ATP. Carrier proteins are proteins in the membrane that allow the movement of molecules against the concentration gradient by binding to the molecules on one side and releasing them on the other side. Lastly, there's endocytosis and exocytosis. These are the formation of vesicles with the molecules inside of them. Vesicles are basically pockets inside the cell that are surrounded by a bilayer that can store stuff inside of them and move them around. In exocytosis, molecules from inside the cell are transported to the membrane by these vesicles, where it fuses with the membrane and then just releases the molecules outside of the cell. Endocytosis is basically the opposite. The membrane folds to surround the molecules, trapping them inside this newly created vesicle. It brings them inside of the cell. While I didn't list it earlier, there's another form of active transport called cotransport. Cotransport is the use of ions moving down their concentration gradient to transport another molecule. When molecules move down their concentration gradient, they release free energy that can be used to transport other molecules across the membrane. For example, here you can see a hydrogen and sucrose cotransporter, where hydrogen is creating free energy by moving down its concentration gradient, allowing sucrose to enter the cell against its concentration gradient. Hey, that's it for cellular transport. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you were able to review or learn something new, and of course, please subscribe, it helps me a lot and it lets you know when I upload another video.